and welcome to Mirador Television. We are the biggest little TV in the world, based in Lewes, East Sussex in England. Our aim is to entertain and to spice things up a little. We will also keep an eye on the local politics, because let's face it, someone has to. Our programs range from stories about the local people to stories about people from all the way across the pond. Brought to you by our wonderful colleagues in New York. So why not sit back, relax with your favourite cuppa, or maybe your favourite tipple, and enjoy. This is Mirador Television.
Oh, that nice little pussycat is not me. I'm not a nice little pussycat at all. Let's take a look at the headlines first, because there is a certain amount of gloom and doom this morning, I am sorry to say, and some of it is in our own backyard. I spent 15 years in Northern Ireland, living just outside Belfast, variously, in a little place called Hollywood and Culshaw, and then down in Colinchie, in the main part of County Down. So I know a little bit of what I speak, and I am so sad because my daughter still lives there. She married there and raised two grandsons there. And her generation, which is now beginning to move on, swore that they would never go back to the bad old days, because Northern Ireland became a very civilized place, a wonderful place to live. And I hope that the tensions that are going on at the moment, which started about 10 days or so ago, and started to really get underway heavily over the holiday weekend. And I'm afraid that this is a situation today. Well, that tells it all. Northern Ireland is a flame again, and I was there from 19. Well, I first went there. The troubles really kicked off in the last century in 1969, and in 1970 I went there because I was still working in Northern Ireland, and I went there to cover the troubles which had sprung alive again, and which were causing international tensions as well as domestic tensions in Ireland, and seeing Belfast as a very dangerous place to be. So I went to report on it. Little did I think that 4 years later I would be there, and that I would live there from 1975 to 1990, through the heart and the heat of the bombings and the shellings and the murders and the mayhem. I really didn't think that I would spend that time there, but I did. And there was a slogan that started: "Is 7 years is enough." And eventually, when it got to 17 years is enough, is something did happen. Let's hope that this spate is just a spate, and that it doesn't carry on, because Northern Ireland and the people are wonderful people, just the same as Southern Ireland. They're wonderful people. If only we can do away with the bloody politicians in both those countries, it'd be fine. But the inbred hatreds of and feeling of being victimized is very deep in both communities, and I think that we just have to be very careful. But once this starts, it's very difficult to stop, and it's very difficult to stop without violence coming from the authorities. So the police start to use truncheons and water cannons, and then we have to bring the army in, and eventually it will all come repeating history. And that's not a good thing. Believe me, look at me, somebody who has lived through the whole damn thing and left thinking that there was a glorious future for this beautiful place. And it is in the hands of the people. And I hope that the people will make sure that these younger people who decide once again that throwing petrol bombs and burning and attacking the police isn't the way forward. It's not the way forward at all, because Northern Ireland is a civilized place now, and long may it go on to be civilized. Lovely place to go and to visit. How very sad to see these scenes. Anyway, they are the reality. That's the news. That's my little comment about it. Now, the next one is this a bit of a commentary underneath. I hope that you don't mind that. But the RAF undertook very recently, it just says the spring, but I understand that most reports are saying that it's in the last few days attacked ISIS in Iraq, in northern Iraq, and have destroyed a huge area, caverns and tunnels in which ISIS were able to retreat when things went against them. So that's another thing that's happened over this newsy weekend.
You haven't got to worry
newsy
about flying
day.
a plane because generally, 99 times out of 100, it's almost flying itself and you're just telling it what you want it to do.
It's always giving me the maximum amount of performance without me having to worry about.
And the attacks were made along with the American military, and they apparently destroyed several cells or nests or whatever you want to call them, but also a huge series of tunnels that have been dug into the mountains. And ISIS, of course, they suddenly appear, and did so in the last little while. Make sure that I haven't switched my microphone off here. They did so in Mozambique, where they attacked some oil workers' residences, or a hotel that was looking after oil workers, and then murdered the people who tried to escape in a convoy. So it is an ongoing worry, and the news is that the RAF joined the Americans and went full tilt, bombing this area from the air with those aeroplanes, and hopefully have dealt if not a mortal blow, a severe blow to this terrorist organization, which is quite merciless. Let's face it, any organization that will cut off the head of a soldier in the street, and a musician soldier at that, has got to be really rooted out, because there is no philosophy there. There's nothing to sympathise with at all. They simply wish to overturn the status quo. They don't believe in the government. They don't believe in the religion. They just want their own way of doing things, and that's no reason for anything. Anyway, let's shall we see what the weather is today? I think we could. There, there we go. This is we should you should be able to hear me. But I was afraid that I might cough or do something even worse while that was on, and my microphone was on, so I switched it off. And sometimes, you can have a lifetime, an absolute lifetime. Forgive me what I just suggested in this business, as indeed I have. And what happens? Of course, what happens is that you make the same mistakes after being in it 30 to 40 years as you did when you were in day one. It is sad. Never mind. It is sad indeed. Now, let's just take a look at what's going on in the rest of the world, not the rest of the world so much as, and of course, after yesterday's fiasco, where the whole thing collapsed halfway through. And I got a phone call which seemed to mingle with our system. And luckily, I've now got to the point where I think that we can find somebody to come in and make sure that it works properly. Because when it's in my hands, I do the best I can. And that's the way it has had to be through lockdown. People were not allowed into this studio. And it's only very, very recently that Stephen Catlin has been coming in and Paul Fowle has been coming in, and we've been starting to get things a little bit more shipshape, ready to go bravely into April and try to bring you a much better service than we have been through lockdown. However, let me say this. Well, let me say two things, actually. Number one, through lockdown, it has been a very, very rough time for us. But we never closed. Like the Windmill Theatre in London that stayed open during the Blitz and produced its shows, I suppose you would call it, with nude ladies. But it boasted it never closed, and it never shut its doors right throughout the Blitz. And we never closed down. And there were times when we wondered if we could ever get things going on a given day. But we managed it. And sometimes it wasn't so hot, and sometimes it was brilliant. But what we've done is we've learned a lot, we've developed a lot, and we are now slowly implementing stuff so that Mirador is in a brave new world. And I hope that the people will discover us, and we are gearing up for a PR campaign to let people know about us. But if you're a watcher, if you're a viewer, please share. Please share. You might not like everything that we do or say, but a lot of people, well, let's put it, ever since Mirador came on the scene, which is about 3.5 years ago, 4 years ago, we've described it as like Marmite. Some people love us, some people hate us, but nobody ever forgets us. So share it with your neighbor and let them have a little peek and make up their own minds about what Mirador is all about. But I also want to say this. At the beginning of our programs, as an introduction, is a lady called Annie Verrill, who was with Mirador for a while, and for various circumstances, much to do with COVID, and her family is no longer, but we use the clip because she is so very good. And I am on record, and I say on record because my own track record of finding talent right across the world, in Canada, in Russia, in Ireland, in the UK, I've got a nose for talent. And Annie Verrill is a brilliant young talent, and I hope that she goes on to greater things, as indeed the effects of lockdown stop interfering with careers. But also, there are two other ladies, Sophie Harris, who started a little bit with us before she actually went and got married. They all run off and get married. Sophie is also an excellent talent. And Lana Richardson, who is also part of us, or part of the thing, the run-up to the start of Mirador. They are three brilliant talents, absolutely stunning talents. If anybody could get off their backsides in London, or even Manchester, where the BBC has gone to, but anywhere, and take a look at these ladies, they would see the huge potential. And all that potential comes out of Lewes. All three of these ladies live in Lewes and have done so for quite some time. So the fact that we've got this sort of talent is I am using all my wiles, and unfortunately, pulling up my trouser leg and winking doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work for older ladies, let alone younger ladies. I've lost my charm in that respect. But as far as talent is concerned and professionalism, they are brilliant, and I hope that we can persuade them at least to make some contribution over the next year or the rest of this year, because not only are they Lewes talent, but also they are attractive to watch, to listen to, and they understand what television is all about. So let's pay tribute to the fact that they have come out of Lewes. And then I had word from Jane Watkins yesterday that she's in Scotland at the moment. There's a lot brewing up there, I'll tell you. There's a lot brewing up in Scotland. But she's up in Scotland. She will be back to her native home in Hastings, and she will be joining us. And of course, Paul Fowle, who is turning into, when he's here, insulting me and tweaking my nose and so on. He should have been on this morning, but unfortunately, as with all of us, circumstances sometimes prevent us being in the right place at the right time. But he will be with us tomorrow. And then, of course, there is Stephen Catlin, who, in a very calm way, points out some of the things that we should be concerned about when it comes to the governance of this area. So we are collecting a team. There are potential in Lewes, real potential. We don't have a huge pot of money here. So we're trying hard to find ways of finding sponsorships and so on, so that these ladies can be tempted back with a fee, and that Stephen and Paul can have a fee. I don't mind getting by with as little as I have to, because this is my brainchild, this is my love, this is my passion. And just coming in here and doing the broadcast every morning is enough for me, as long as I can actually pay the rent and boil an egg, as we say, break an egg here. So this Mirador Television is struggling to become part of this community, and it's only a lack of cash, because our distribution system is huge. And it's not expensive. But we, even though it's not expensive, we can't actually bring it back on stream again. So the people are watching us, as I famously say, in Patagonia. But we are available everywhere in the world on smart TVs and on streaming TV. Not quite Netflix yet, but that sort of thing. And this is all coming out of Lewis. Tiny little Lewis. 17,000, 18,000 people. Okay, the district adds many more to it. But when you talk about Lewis, where the heart of this operation is, it is very tiny. And yet its heart beats with a very strong pulse. And we are, as we say, we are local, not parochial. Yes, there are lots of things that need to be highlighted locally, and we do. We try to take issues that are of concern. A lot of the people who, for instance, Mick Symes, who does Lewis Present, and some of the other people who do various pages for Lewis, do a very good job. And they are able, because the system matches looking for lost dogs and knowing where you should have a picnic. And they do an excellent job. We can't and don't do that sort of job. What we try to do is to link Lewis with the rest of the world and to look at the issues here that are bothering people overseas and look at the issues overseas that are bothering people here. And that is as important as making sure that the tulips are growing in the local park. So that's Mirador, and I needed to say it because I am full of admiration for the talent that is in this town. There's all sorts of other people involved in radio. Soon, I understand that the radio that is now in Eastbourne will be able to be heard in Lewis. That the Ofcom, the powers that be, are going to expand its license. Now that's no, it's more than rumor because I've talked to people involved in it, and that will be a good move. We do a little bit of a radio thing, but it's only a little adjunct to our television. And if we get real radio from the people in Eastbourne, then that once again the talent will shine through, the talent that is here in Lewis. And say what you might, the town and county, which is going to spread its wings and become a magazine for Sussex, has been a very good magazine for Lewis, and there's a lot of talent there. And we have to give credit to Richard and Sean, who own and manage and edit the magazine, for doing a brilliant job. It is a good magazine, and it's reflected well live here. Controversial? Yes, because everything in Lewis is controversial. Go out onto the high street and past Wyndon, you'll manage to get a debate going about it. It's that sort of town. But is that bad? No, it's not. Shout it loud. Lewis is great. I'm a loudmouth. I'm able to sit here and shout at will, and nobody can stop me. Not even the government. Well, they can. they could shut us down, and they. I think that there was a little bit of a trial at that by starving us of cash. And it's not that we couldn't then continue off the outside Nero the way we started, sitting there with a coffee in our hands and our phones. But now we've got a nice little studio, which enables us to do all sorts of interesting things. And we want to go back to those interesting things. So anyway, that's a nice rant, because each morning we're going to have a rant. Yes, we are. But let's do something that's rather nice, rather pleasant, because our public relations lady and a great worker for charity, Susan Harris, goes out each morning and she takes photographs. And this was those that she took just before the long weekend, and we showed first on Tuesday, but I think that they're worth taking another look at. And the more she sends to us, the better we like it. just love that cat clutching the camera. But lovely images there from Susan Harris. And come on, Susan, we're waiting for some more from you, darling, because the ones that you've been supplying us for almost a year now are absolutely terrific. It's all very well to say, well, they're just pictures of Lewis. The fact of the matter is, there are a few people that roam around Lewis and they catch not only a different angle from the camera, but also places that I've never been to and I've never seen. And I'm quite sure that 90% of Louisians can say that among those collage of photographs is, I didn't know that existed, or I've never been there. So what a wonderful thing it is. Now, let's go back to the news, because full speed ahead on jabs. And all this nonsense about the AstraZeneca jab that has been fomented in Europe is just that. And at long last, at least we in Britain have recognised that stop being so silly. And you are looking at somebody who has had both jabs. They're both AstraZeneca jabs. And to be quite honest with you, the only thing that I've ever had in terms of a kickback reaction, didn't even get a headache this time, didn't get an ache in the arm. The only thing is, it makes me just immediately afterwards a bit lethargic. I don't feel like doing anything. And the trouble is that to me, that's awful, because I can't sit still. I'm one of those restless souls that's got to be doing that, going there, or whatever. But the jab goes on. And those are the headlines in the paper this morning. The jabs are safe and saves lives. The Prime Minister is saying, hey, we start to rest easy with this jab. Get it? Well, I'm an example of, yes, all sorts of things can happen with all sorts of things. But, my grandson is allergic to nuts. And even just a trace of nuts in anything sets him off. But that's not true of the majority of the populace. And it's not true either that there are blood clots for the majority of the populace. You may just be very, 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 very unfortunate. I mean, one of those people that does have that sort of reaction, although it is very slight, and even then hasn't necessarily been linked to the vaccine. So here is living proof. The sort of proof that you might want to get rid of, but nonetheless, the vaccine is okay. So I don't care whether we're editorializing. But all the headlines in the papers this morning are full speed ahead on the vaccine rollout. Keep calm and carry on jabbing. The Star, which has taken over from the Sun really for a really good headlines, is there's apparently a little pig which was going to the abattoir to be bacon for somebody. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to upset any children that are watching, but it escaped, and away it went. And the Star's headline is "The Pork Shank Redemption." Those of you who are familiar with the movie The Shawshank Redemption, which is all about somebody escaping from prison with a teaspoon, you'll appreciate that headline. The Daily Telegraph, all the headlines this morning are about keep on taking AstraZeneca, and yes, it's every paper. So it just shows how the force of what's happening. Even the Financial Times has got the headline on the AstraZeneca jab. Everybody is talking about it. And Paul Fowle said, Keith, this was when we thought he would be with me this morning, but we could carry this through. He said, I think people are getting fed up with talking about AstraZeneca and the jab. And I think that he's right to some extent. But the fact of the matter is, it's with us. And one of the latest statements from Boris is that if you're going abroad, that you will likely have to have always, for the foreseeable future. In fact, if you're going abroad, you have to have the vaccine passport. And that's one of those things that we just have to live with. Now, there is still confusion about when you can go on holiday and which countries are going to be the green countries. Countries have been put into green, amber, and that's orange to you if you watch the traffic signal, and red. Green, you are okay. You don't have to go into self-isolation and so on. However, as Boris has admitted that the one thing that you will have to do is you'll have to have an extra little jab, and that's going to cost £200. The boss of EasyJet says, "Hey, hang on, it's going to cost £450." So on top of the ticket, and the very, very cheap ticket is likely to have gone forever, I would have thought. You've got an extra cost, and that's where it stands at the moment. When can you go? Well, Boris is saying, I think that what we can do is we can stick to our May the 7th, I think it's May the 7th deadline, and people can start off. Others are saying, hey, be careful, because there is a mixed reaction about the third wave. It is hitting many countries, particularly Europe, very badly. Is it going to wash up here on these shores, or will the virus vaccine keep us safe? It's all still a big debate, and we will continue to debate it. And I don't think that anybody really knows. It probably is one of those things that in 30 years' time they'll look back and they'll say, if only we had thought of this or thought of that. So are we going to, and I have no idea what this picture is coming up, but I think it may be to do with holidays. Well, no, it's not. It's going on holiday to, and that's not. Let's go through them, and that's not. So we've got to find we've got to find something to do with holidays here. There we go. There we go. I'm a world traveller, and I think it was 2013, 2014. I spent more time in the air than I did on the ground. I went through more airports. I had very I don't know whether heard over this. It never occurred to me that I would walk on around. Well, we're all lusting after that. Will it return or won't it? And there is not a lot of confidence in the words that are coming from Westminster on this. Some people think that we will soon be able to enjoy those scenes and get on board those aircraft. And others think that it will be a long time until we can do it without either punitive costs or with punitive restrictions because of the virus. But I think that one of the things we'll try to do is next week, we'll try to get hold of somebody in the travel industry and find out what the status is and what we can expect. Because most of us, I think, would like to think that we could do that. My own bag now. I mean, I am a world traveler. I've been to 60 countries in the world, and I've worked in 40 of them, would you believe? So it tells you how old I am. And now my great pleasure is to get onto the ferry and go over and stay for 2 or 3 days in Dieppe. So I can have brandy in my coffee in the morning, wander the streets, eat lobster twice a day, and then go for an early night and fall asleep and see the dawn in what is, I think, is just a lovely little town. And in many ways, it's being forgotten because it now is not really a port. When I first started to go there, the ferry hauled up into the center of the town. Now it's on the outskirts. You have to take a little bus. And incidentally, just anybody who is using that and wants to use the bus at the other end, have some euros in your pocket. They don't take any foreign currency, and you must pay with euros. So just a word to the wise, a little a tip. Um, so there we are. That's the news. Where are we this morning? We are 9 minutes past 8. My goodness me, doesn't time fly when you're having fun? I think that it is time really for us to show some commercials, if you like, to people who stood by us in the black times, the dark times, and who I know are still ready to open up. Monday, next Monday, probably. But I would say look for these people when you're wandering around Lewis, because they did a great service. They did a great service to us, and they did a great service to our community. So here we are. We'll take a look. What we want.
My name's Yad and welcome to my shop, Bell & Co. We specialise in mid-century furniture, 50s, 60s and 70s mainly. One of our main ethoses here is very much encouraging people to look at older pieces of furniture rather than buying new or buying flat pack. We're very much environmentally based in trying to encourage people to reuse and reimagine objects, and so we spend a lot of time restoring pieces, reupholstering pieces and bring them back to life generally. They're just fantastic to look at, and they're just beautiful items at really, really affordable prices.
I loved that 15th century typewriter. But that brings back memories to my early days in use when we didn't have computers. We had sit up and beg typewriters. Most of us could only type with 2 fingers, but we jammed it out. Boy, did we jam it out! And it was done on 3-ply paper, so that you could use a copy to read the news. You could leave a copy for a colleague, and you could then have another copy put into the archives, so that if anybody ever came back and questioned the veracity of the story, you would then be able to have it and say, no, this is exactly what we said. And I may say that particularly, even though we'd started to use some computer aids at Reuters, that those backups were very, very useful, because quite often, particularly in the world of finance, people would claim that what you'd said was untrue. And you were able to go back and immediately put your hands on the copy and say, this is what we said, what's untrue about it? So that typewriter, it gives me, perhaps I might even go and buy it. Although I'm trying to divest myself of everything because I'm moving at the moment, and moving to where I've had a glorious life. I've had a glorious life, and 30 years of that life has been in Lewis. But I've got to the point now where a big house or even a little house is a bit more than I need. I come to work, I go home, I sleep. So I'm looking for a nice room with a nice family. I spotted one on Southover, and unfortunately, and I don't blame them at all, one of the people they've already got who's boarding, if you like, at their house is a lady. And as they say, a lady and a man sharing a bathroom does not work. So they're looking for another lady for that room. But it was gorgeous. It was lovely. And that's the sort of thing I hope that I can find. And I shall sit there like Sherlock Holmes in his rooms and continue to produce or overlook and oversee anyway Mirador Television, because we are beginning to attract very talented people, some of whom are coming along and saying, look, we realize what COVID has done, COVID rather, is, we'd like to come and work a little bit with you, and let's see where it goes. And if we can all make it work, then indeed you can give us a job. We're only too delighted. If anybody out there wants to do that, give us a call. No problem at all. Now, let's take another look, because I saw that this lady was on one of the social media pages. So I know she's operating again.
From Capturing Tales, and we've been open here for about 2.5 years. We specialise in focaccia genovese, which is this focaccia, like that. And my mum and I went to Italy, to Genova, to learn to make focaccia, which is an ancient art. Then we do little salad pots, sauces, fresh pasta, stuff to take home and cook. We try to get locally, support other local businesses. We have a few cocktails in bottles, which is why we're called Catcher and Tails. We're open 6 days a week, Monday to Saturday, to come by and see us anytime.
So there you are, an open invitation to go down. And I've passed that shop several times during lockdown, walking either down to the chemist at the bottom, Wyborn, lovely little chemist, or to St Andrew's Surgery, a lovely little surgery. I just hope that all these things aren't totally swallowed up by this massive amalgamation, which I don't approve of at all. But there you are. I'm just one lonely little voice. No, I'm not on a mouth that roars. Somebody listens to me somewhere from time to time. It's so let's take a look at one last shop, actually, who supported us by saying, listen, we know that there's a bad times, that advertising is not many people will be picking this up, and even if they do, they can't come to us. But we like you, Mirador, and we want to be part of you. So here we go.
Roundabout has been going for 35 years. We're a dress agency, so what we do is we sell on behalf of people. The customer gets 50% of the price and we take 50%. The online shop is roundaboutlewis.com. I try and update it, daily when things come in. We're open Tuesday to Saturday, 9:30 till 4:30. So if you're looking for gifts or a dress for yourself, why not visit?
Well, why not visit, indeed? So those are some of the people who have stood by us, and we are eternally grateful. There are a couple more, and since you're all aware, I think, that, by the way, here's this is where we stood when the latest lockdown hit us, smack in the face, and why we've struggled since. But we slowly, and we're delighted, and thank you, we are beginning to grow again. and we are turning out the most basic of services, and we're trying to add a bit more sophistication every day. And soon, hopefully, we'll be sending our programs around the world again, which we were up until then. But we were doing quite well. It's now 19 minutes past 8 o'clock. And let's just go through the headlines again. The one that is particularly upsetting, I think, is this one. It is upsetting. Well, one can understand. I understand very well, because not only have I lived there for 15 years during the last set of troubles, but my daughter lives there, and my grandsons were raised there, although they've moved on to Bristol and Newcastle, respectively. But the fact that those sort of solutions, if you like, to perceived injustice should be rioting on the streets. If that mentality has returned, it is very, very sad, because actually Northern Ireland is a delightful place to go to now. Belfast, which was the city of the damned when I went there, there was the manager of the Europa Hotel was he would give out ties to any journalist who had, well, anybody actually who was in the hotel and stayed there under an attack from the IRA. They just blew it up every so often, and you never quite knew whether you could go there or not, because nobody knew whether it was open. And the Reverend Ian Paisley used to famously use the lounge in the hotel and have himself paged. And when you heard would somebody is the Reverend Ian Paisley there bellow out over the PA system in the hotel, it was his signal to say to the press, "I'm ready to talk about something." So, all those quaint things have gone. But the return of violence, I hope, is not everlasting. Let's also, I think, it is important to know other things happen in the rest of the world. I'm afraid what happened yesterday was we had some problems. Why, I don't know, and they just occur. But it's not as bad as yesterday, where we were knocked off the air totally, and all sorts of things got mixed up. So we'll just say goodbye to this. But the reason that these, I think you can hear me. The reason that these airplanes are there is because the RAF attacked ISIS a few days ago, along with the Americans, in northern Iraq. ISIS being perhaps one of the most vicious terrorist organizations anywhere in the world. And it was the RAF plus the Americans who had to go at them. So those were the two key items, except for every newspaper this morning is saying, let us get on with the jab. It is clear, and it's silly to stop giving the AstraZeneca vaccine to anybody who wants it. And could I say to anybody who wants it, if you haven't had it yet, go and get it. The chances of anything happening to you are very slim. I am much more concerned that they don't open the pubs next Monday than I am about having had 2 jabs now, anything happening to me. I'm a dozy old bugger anyway. I mean, I'm getting on a bit, and I find myself falling asleep funniest times. I'm always afraid that if I was ever invited to Buckingham Palace, that just at that moment when I'm supposed to say Your Majesty or whatever, yes, ma'am, to the Queen, I would doze off in the middle of it. And really, the worst part of dozing off, actually, it's not just age. I've got Parkinson's, which affects me a little bit, but it's quite often when I've got a glass of wine in my hand, and the first I know about going to sleep is feeling this wet substance either on my shirt or trousers or whatever, and the wine has just fallen out of the glass as I've relaxed my grip. So there are all sorts of things that. Well, anyway, Britain getting back on tracks at last. Go get your jab. AstraZeneca is okay. It's been tested. Been tested in the United States. It's been tested here. It's actually been tested in Europe. It's just become a political issue there. So let's stay safe. Let's make sure. Now, my good friend Gary is watching this morning. He's been working all night, and he's really quite faithful to us because he comes back from his home, and the first thing he does is he switches us on, and I think that's absolutely fantastic. Gary, yeah, good morning, Keith. He says, good morning, Gary, and your faith in us and your support is absolutely fantastic, and we're really very grateful. There's a few other people that come on regularly as well, but Gary is the first amongst princes, as it were. It's 9:27. There are a lot of people who still haven't found us. Who are we? What are we doing? So here we are. So, wherever you are in the world, let it be known that it is 9:29. And I take that back. Jack DiManio rules again. It's 8:29 in the county town of Lewes in East Sussex, and we are delighted if you spent some time with us this morning. We'd be delighted if you'd spend some time with us tomorrow morning. Watch out for Stephen Catlin. He will be around, and you never know when he's going to pop up in the day. But he's always got some revelation about the governance of this area, and very worthwhile listening and watching to. Where do we want to be? Where do we want to be? Oh, next Monday, there is a certain amount of lockup. In other words, lockdown it begins to ease. I can't wait for it. Just a few more days, and I'm not quite sure what the rule is going to be anymore. And when I said to Paul Fowl, Paul, what we can do is when we finish our morning chores with the programs, with the television, we could go and have a pint. And he said, yeah, everybody else will feel the same way. We won't be able to get anywhere near the bar. I hope he's not right. I hope that I think there are 16 pubs now in Lewes. At one time in the middle of the last century, no, the century before, in the 1800s, we had 65 pubs and 17 breweries. Oh, happy day. I think we've only got about well, we've got 16, I think, left working. At least let's hope so. But this is what we would all like to happen, and everybody is praying that the timetable for ending lockdown is met, and that in May, at least, there are some places that we can go and enjoy holiday. Happy memories. Oh, looking forward to being able to do it all again. This is Mirador Television, and I hope that you've enjoyed being with us. And do join us again. We're around live from 7:30 to 8:30 each weekday. And the program then goes on to Facebook and can be seen at any time if you care to tap in. But love us or hate us, you will never forget us. Just like Marmite. Toodle-pip.